Well, it's 30 since it started. Welcome to the Northeast 182nd Avenue, Northeast Risto Road Open House. Just a couple of house cleaning items here. This meeting is being recorded. We will post it on our website, specifically the project website. Virtual guests can use the chat tool to participate in the discussion. Please hold all questions and comments till the end of this presentation, and then Richard and Haley will walk around with the mic, and then one of the staff here will answer your questions. County staff in attendance tonight. We got Bruce. He's the interior designer on the project. We have Matt Riswold. He's the consultant on this project. We have Katie Shannon. She's with our community engagement and inclusion section. Brett Gallup, who's our real property service team member. Delaney Anzella, and she's with real property services as well. And then I'm Scott Buckland, the project manager for this project. The project limits will start over here at 167th Avenue and 198th Street. It will go the length over here to the north end of the bridge across the Salmon Creek. There will be realigning Lincoln Road, so it's more perpendicular to Bristol Road. We'll talk more about that. So the overview of the project. So there's three components around here. We call them site. We have site A, which we're proposing some curb improvements at this intersection here, and we'll talk more on some slides. Then we have site C, which is we're going to be constructing a roundabout, and then or site B, I'm sorry. And then site D is this whole section of roadway will be overlaid with fresh asphalt. Looking at the curb improvements are Northeast 176th Avenue, 199th Street, Bristol Road. So we're going to have a full depth roadway reconstruction that includes flattening the curve here, the crossroad. We're going to flatten that out. And then once it receives this final depth, we're going to come back through with a high friction surface treatment and apply it. And that will key driver is during the wet weather conditions, and even when it's dry or a light of snow, it will help with keeping cars in their travel. We will be changing the alignment of the entry of Eaton Boulevard into the main road there. At Northeast 182nd Avenue, Northeast Risto Road, we have the existing intersection configuration, as probably most of you know what that is. And we're proposing with replacing that with a roundabout. It's a single lane roundabout. In addition, we're going to be at Lincoln Road. We're going to change the entrance. It's going to be more perpendicular to Risto Road, so that cars have a better visual to the east and west. What else is going on? I think for the most part, that's it. So, as part of these improvements, probably we have to close the road down, and that's going to impact probably all of you. The road is going to be closed from Northeast 176th Avenue over here to Risto Road. In green, we've highlighted a detour route that will be signed. It's out here in the country. There's no easy way around a construction site. It's not going to be fun. But it's needed. So the anticipated project schedule. Right now, We've just completed the 90% plans. They're out for an internal review right now, and then local utilities are also reviewing them. We should be getting comments back here in a couple of weeks. Then we progress to a 99% plan. So that's scheduled to be delivered November of 2024. Right now, with our 90%, we have submitted to get all of our environmental permits, and we anticipate having permit approval by December of 2024. The following month, January of 2025, we submit our plans to WSDOT to get approval to go to ag. At that same time, the same month, we have a property acquisition that we need, and our right-of-way needs to be certified. That will occur in January of 2025. And then once we have all those permits in place, the plans are wrapped up, the certifications in place, we finalize the plans, and that will be in March of 2025. In April, we'll go out on ad, try to get our contractors to get on under contract, and then I anticipate beginning construction in early June 2025. The road closure will be once school is out, so I just put end of June 2025. We'll have this is going to be a one-season construction job, so substantial completion probably in the fall of 2025, and then physical completion December 2025. Once again, it's an anticipated project schedule. It's subject to change, but this is the key date for probably you guys. Is it's going to start in June of 2025 in the road closure once school ends end of June 2025. Project funding. So this project, we anticipate it's going to cost about $3.8 million. We've received federal money in the amount of $450,000. We've received a state grant for $1.2 million, and then local funds, which is traffic impact fees, county road fund, real estate excise tax too. That will pay for the balance of the project. But once again, total cost about $3.8 million. Contact information, my name, my number, my email address. This is the project website. We put plans on there. This open house will be on there. The detour map will be on there. But if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop me an email or a phone call, and I'll get right back to you. Once again, the recording of this presentation will be on there as well. It takes us about 10 days to get that uploaded. So at this time, we'll take questions. In-room participants, raise your hand, and we'll go around with the mic. And then if you're online, type your question into the chat feature, and your question will be read aloud in the meeting space here.
Thank you. Yeah, good presentation. So what's going to be at the center of the roundabout? And is that something that trucks could traverse if necessary?
So there will be a concrete apron around the center of that roundabout, but then there's like a 22-foot diameter that is landscaped, probably low-growing shrubbery.
Okay.
But correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, county forests don't like a lot of vegetation in there just because of the safety aspect of the maintenance on them.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be low vegetation. I think the other project has one tree in there. So.
Okay. And would a truck? I know sometimes there's like lumber trucks that have to go through there or something. Will they be able to go over the top of that roundabout if necessary?
Yeah. So they wouldn't need to drive in the center part, but we have what Scott was saying was a truck apron. So from the roadway surface, there'll be a rolled curb, and then there's kind of like an adjacent section of concrete. So the intersection's modeled for all the way up to, it's called the WB60. It's one of the largest trucks with trailers for going through the intersection, eastbound, southbound, and then northbound, westbound, and then it's a little bit smaller, we call them design vehicles, going down Risto off to the west.
Okay.
So it's typically not seeing those big, huge semis going east down 209th, but it will be smaller trucks, camper trailers, horse trailers, UPS every hour. So,
Yeah.
If you do want to get an example of this roundabout, go to SR 500 and 187. This is the same size roundabout. It's almost, we almost use it, we almost use that one as a pattern for this roundabout. It's a three-legged roundabout. It was a DOT built roundabout
a couple of years ago, yeah, 2 to 3.
But go, if you're out in that area, and you head that direction, drive through that roundabout, and that's pretty much what you're going to get out here. That roundabout has a lot of truck traffic. There's some heavy construction companies that work and live out there, and it gets a lot of truck traffic through there, and they have no problem going through.
Okay. So that roundabout he's talking about, that's if you go down the 4th Plank and 164th, you turn east, and that turns into 500, and then it's a mile down the road. Yeah.
So if we live in the middle of the S curve where it's going to be closed, what does diversion look like for us? So if you live in the middle of the closure, there.
In between.
Yeah, so in the section of the actual road closure, there'll be local access. If that's your only driveway, you'll still have access to your property. Emergency vehicles will still be able to get there. Garbage service should still be able to get there. A question came up, which we'll have to touch base, is mailboxes. Sometimes on other projects where there's room, they like us to relocate on a temporary basis to an area outside the work zone. But in this case, there's really no safe area to do that. So we'll be working with the postmaster, and they'll give us a recommendation. But you will have access.
First off, I'd like to let you know I like roundabouts, so fair enough. But my question is, why are we spending money on a roundabout? Is this because of accidents that are happening all the time? Is this because people don't like the way they use it as a roundabout now? Where I live 176th Avenue, and we got problems there. So what's the accident ratio at both intersections?
So I do not have that information in front of me, but it's something I can look into to see if we have an accident history there at 176th and 199th Street, and then compare that to what we have.
The question is the roundabout. Why are you doing
Well,
roundabouts?
he was saying that so the roundabout, I wish the gentleman from programming was here that applied for the grants. I can't tell you why that intersection was picked over the one at 176, but I will ask that question, and maybe we can put the answer online on the website.
I can help with that.
It's a waste of money.
Okay.
The county has a systemic safety program where they actually look at all of the crashes, intersections, roadway segments, and it's all documented. It's also ranked, and as they set these ranking, they go after funding according to this ranking. So the idea is if this is up in the top 3 or 4 and it falls within the budget of the money that they can get for it, they'll go after it and do it. Maybe the number 1 project is a $20 million project, but they only have $3.5–4 million available. So they're gonna maybe go and get the third or fourth project down on the list and make that improvement versus the one that's number one, that's a $20 million project. And the problem with crashes are they ebb and flow. So this is always, this list is a moving list. It's gonna grow and shrink, grow and shrink. And so as everybody knows, when the pandemic hit in 19, everybody started staying at home, working from home. So we saw a fall in traffic volumes on roads, but we saw an increase in traffic speeds because there's less people on the roads, and they're able to drive faster with there's less competition out there. So right now, the county, I believe, is in the process of redoing their numbers because the numbers they have right now are a little stale, out of date. And the idea is you should redo this every few years so that you are always staying up as close as you can with the current traffic, where the volumes are, where the development is. Because what happens, everybody knows in Clark County, the development in certain areas is just blown up. Other areas are still, but there's some areas that super hot areas. One that comes to mind is 72nd Avenue from 119 to the north. That area, that road gets 18 to 20,000 vehicles a day. There's a lot of crashes, fatalities on that road. So there's always going to be crashes, but they're going to move a little bit depending on development, pandemics, and just different things.
That roundabout that you said was Fourth Plain and 503, was that 3 road input or
Yes.
it was 3?
It is 3. And it's 500 and 182nd.
Okay.
But you go out Mill Plain, you're leaving the city.
Fourth.
You're
Go
going
to
out,
Safeway to left. You'll run right into it.
yeah. Just head east on.
Okay. Well, I was thinking about this one. There's really only 2 yields at this intersection with 1 stop sign. When the project's done, there'll be no stop sign, but 1 extra yield. I don't see a big improvement on that. And it's been working out the way it's been. You know, we lived there 35 years and I haven't seen 1 accident, not saying there's never been an accident, but we're just getting rid of 1 stop sign and we're adding 1 yield. And that's all the bang that's coming out of this one.
Well, the nice thing about roundabouts right now, if you're making that movement from the heading north and want to go west, you're going around that curve at what? Coming into that corner, you're probably doing about 50 miles an hour, going through that curve at 40. With a roundabout there, the speeds are going to be about 18 miles an hour. Speeds are going to come down.
When you see it.
Well, and another thing to think about, having my husband have a head-on Risto Road because someone turned right into him. You won't have that angle anymore of accidents. So it'll be much safer from that standpoint. Yeah.
Speeds are less, and it eliminates the head-ons, the left turns, the rear end. You may get some of this as somebody's coming in and somebody doesn't yield, doesn't see him, maybe a side swipe or something like that. But the head-ons and the rear ends, especially at speeds where you've got somebody making a left turn at a dead stop and somebody coming in at them at 45 miles an hour.
Based on the presentation so far, it says that the project, the western boundary of the project is 167th. But what I'm seeing in all the drawings basically focuses on the S curves. So what is going on between 167th and 176th? Because a couple months ago, I had a utility worker in my yard telling me that I'm going to lose like 15 feet of my property because all the utilities need to be pushed north because of this project going on. But we haven't gotten anything in the mail or anything telling us that we're affected by whatever you're doing here. I'm in between 167th and 176th on 199th.
So that's gonna be a pavement overlay through that section. That's it, yeah. So from 167 to 176, pavement overlay, and then we're gonna start the curve reconstruction, go back into a pavement overlay, and then do the roundabout at Risto.
There were surveyors out there a few months ago, and everything is all marked off. You see a bunch of pink property markers and everything, and just like, the utility guys like, oh yeah, all these utilities have to be pushed 15 feet north. I'm like, I'll put some on my property.
That doesn't sound like that's part of this project. I have no idea what.
It's just your projects goes, takes that into consideration, so that's what I'm hearing. I'm like, what does that mean to me?
We only have one, and we're only taking a sliver of property, and that's at the southeast corner of that roundabout.
I was just curious, so to get the high traction, it seems like you're putting a bunch of gravel and just letting it get glued down to asphalt or something, but I was curious as to what's gonna happen to all the gravel that's just laying on the road, because I've got a couple cars that I can only drive in the summer, and I can't get into town without driving on that section, and I've gotten multiple whacks in the windshields, and the paint's getting chewed up. I know it's not a big deal, but you know, I just think about resale and I'm just getting annoyed. So are they going to take some of the gravel off, or are we just going to keep driving on it until we fling it all off, or what's the game plan on that?
They haven't come back and cleaned it up. So I was just talking with Matt. It's not part of this project, but we've been doing a lot of overlay surface treatments out here right now. And I think several of them have been the chip seal, where they're putting down the tar, the rock, and you might be able to answer this better, but my understanding is once that's set, they'll come back through with sweepers, sweep up all the loose gravel rocks, and then they'll stripe it with the stripe.
So they just let it cure, it's got another couple weeks before they do that?
I don't know how long they let it sit.
So they gotta basically let it cure. And that oil has to get out of it, and then they can stripe it and sweep it. But they gotta sweep it, and then you can come in and stripe it, and you're done. To talk about a little bit more about the friction additive that's going in that curve, it's not that tight. It's not a chip seal. It's more of a two-part epoxy. It will last, it's supposed to last 10 to 15 years, especially on the pavement. So it's not what you see out there as far as the chip seals that the county's. It's something totally different.
I kind of want to follow up with some of the questions this lady had, just to make sure it was clear. So we've got the two areas with the red boxes, and then the overlay is not going to be a chip seal. So our person overlay is going to be like it is past 176, where it's fresh asphalt. So that'll be from the Salmon Creek Bridge up to the bottom of kind of the red box there, the south part of the roundabout. That's going to be an overlay. Then between the two red boxes, an overlay, and then everything to the west. So that'll match into the other project. We will have some utility relocation with our project. So the curve, the northern curve by 176, there's a power pole that's right off the shoulder of the road, kind of on the east side. That's getting moved back to the north, out of the way. And then we have a couple power poles, and I think one telecommunication lumen pole down near Lakin and the roundabout. It'll have to be relocated. But definitely nothing with this project that would have triggered surveyors to be out there or anything. So maybe if you shoot the email in to kind of the general question, they could try and, or county staff can try and see if they can find out. I don't know if that's from a private development, but they typically can't come on private property and impact you. So even if there is a development going in, they can't touch you. So we'll have to take some more research.
That was my thought too. And we have 10 acres, people next to us have 10 acres, so one of us was some. But that was my thought when this guy was out there playing with utilities. He's like, oh yeah, these all have to move, they have to go. I'm like, excuse me, nobody's asking about this. Nobody's said anything to me. Because that affects the culvert under my driveway. It's like, it's more than just moving utilities for you guys.
Yeah. This project is going to be just the overlay, and then each driveway will get, just depends on how steep your driveway is, either like a 5 foot or up to, I think we go maybe as far as 15 on one. just repaving the driveway to match into the new asphalt surface. But it's still all within county right of way, so we're not doing anything outside of that. In that area.
How about the high friction surface on the lower half of the S curve? All I hear about is the one curve, but why wouldn't you put it through the whole S curve? There's another rather dramatic turn down at the bottom.
Between the two, yeah, between the two.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was part of their safety grant. It's not part of this project, but I know exactly what you're talking about. You can actually see the pavement is actually shifting and running, and because of the speeds on that curve.
Yeah.
So I had the same thoughts myself.
Yeah, it's just as much of a hazard. I mean, the banking or the angles are going to be pretty similar, so why just do that one curve and not continue it down to the bottom section as well?
We'd have to look into that. It's probably going to be a programming question.
Yeah.
I don't know why that one wasn't included. By the time it gets to my desk, it's already, I just do the design, so I'm not, and John's not here today in programming for the kind of the selection.
And it may come down to a crash history, that maybe that other corner has a higher rate of crash than the other one.
I know a lot of it is people coming out of 176, heading south, trying to turn right or left onto 199. I don't know, pick your name. Is it Eden? Is it 199?
Yeah.
I still call it 199. And then, I don't
Something
know
to look into, though.
I don't know if Scott mentioned or not, that curve is also gonna get the radar activated speed signs, so.
Cameras.
So, the gentle reminder that you're going too fast, but I think a lot of it is the intersection of there, is also the trigger, because of people trying to pull out, and you've got people coming around the curve.
Because the other one, they drop down over there. You know, I'm sure that gentleman that lives right there with the guard, I think they have a guardrail there now, so.
There is, and it's actually gonna be replaced as part of the project.
Yeah,
Overlay.
it just seemed like you would continue that. Seems like the radius is pretty equal from a safety standpoint.
Makes total sense.
Kind of the same train of thought. The slope on the road where you guys are working it compared to the slope of the road in the other half of the S turn. You drive through there now and it doesn't seem like there's a whole bunch of difference in the slope of the road. We're putting a lot of effort into one of the turns and zero effort into the second turn. I think those turns deserve the same amount of effort put into both turns, whether it's the high friction, whether it's changing the banking so they're both the same. But we need the same effort in both of those turns, not just one of them. So when they're done, they have the same banking, the same surface to go through there. I think that needs to be looked at a little bit more.
My question is about the rerouting of traffic. We live right outside of the red line for the roundabout on Risto. And I understand there's only so much you can do. The roads are what they are, but I'm worried about that redirect of traffic up to 212. It's a very small road, and it's very narrow, and it's not one lane, but it's very narrow, and it comes up to kind of a blind crest of a hill. And if that's everybody who lives up Risto is using that to get into Battleground, I'm worried about traffic. I'm worried about accidents there. I was wondering if there was a plan for emergency services for people up Risto. How is this going to affect the time of fire trucks or ambulances getting to our house?
So even though it'd be a road closure, if it's fire, they will clear a way for them to get through there. They will be able to, because fire, ambulance, emergency responders, they have priority, and they know that. And the county's going to coordinate with the fire department and let them know. And so that if it's Friday and they're out there working, and all of a sudden somebody's summertime grass fire, they're going to come through there.
Are there going to be any signage or tests or anything done for 212 for the rerouting, just to help people navigate that more safely?
There's a lot of signage. You take it over the plan, there's a lot.
There's another thing, I used to work for the county, worked for the traffic engineer, I was managing traffic engineering operation group. And what we have done before, when I was with, on some of the detours, we would look at that detour route and we would go out there and freshen up the striping and add RPMs for the white reflectors that are on the road. And sometimes, what we call, not tubular markers, the roadside markers, the fiberglass posts that go between there on curves. And we've done that before when I was with the county. We would go out there and freshen up the detour routes just to make sure it had a little bit extra delineation for nighttime. But that's something that Scott, being the project manager, will have to coordinate with the traffic group and see if that's something they can do.
I've driven 212 at night and it's pitch black. There's no, it's going to be a rough detour.
And if you get any snow between now and then, any RPMs that we're out there, we're going to get in the ditch. So it may be a good idea that they spend a little time and effort freshening up the striping and the flat RPMs prior to the detour.
Yeah.
You may have answered this on the maps, but at 176th and 199th, those curves that you're going to change the elevation of the road. On a heavy rain event, water just runs across that road and becomes a hazard. Will that be taken care of by your elevation changes, or will it just be still open ditches, or et cetera?
The water's gonna flow the same as it does now. So we're lowering the bank on that curve, but it will still be playing, we call it shedding. The water will still be shedding to the south side where it's going now. There'll be a little less because some of that gravel pad that's on the other side is gonna end up being vegetated. So we're gonna relocate the mailboxes, we're gonna relocate the power pole that's in there. And then we're making that connection to the east, which that says it's Eaton, still contend it's 199. That's gonna be a little more of a traditional intersection than just having a giant sea of gravel that you can enter and exit anywhere you want. And then the rest of that will be vegetated and seeded. So that actually will slow down on the lower or the smaller storm events. If you get a huge rainfall, you'll see substantial, but all the smaller rainfalls too are going to be saturated through the soil. So it should reduce its own.
You guys should drive this and then you'll see you change that. When it comes across the road, that's dangerous. You guys need to drive this stuff before you come up with plans. What we experience.
When you're saying it now, does it seem kind of like you're out one particular
It
spot?
can be rippling across, you know, if people have to slow down. But that's not acceptable to have water rippling across the street. How safe is that?
There used to be a ditch there. Well, that's just it, is the ditch is gone from that corner, so now we've got pooling water at the low point of the curve that's just getting sealed. And then the creek that people are talking about, and it is a creek, it is eroding out. The worse rain, the harder the rain to get, it erodes out the turnout. To the point I have to let the county know, please come fill it again.
So are you
it
talking
is-
the big gravel area there where?
The big gravel turnout there gets eroded heavily with heavy rain, and it just washes across the road. It creates basically a pretty good creek across the road. The other curve down in between the roundabout and the turnout, that curve floods to the point it almost backs up on, when it's bad, it'll back up onto 199 and now floods our property because the ditch has not been cleared out in 10, 15, 20 years. If those ditches were actually maintained, most of the water problem would be taken care of.
Yeah,
So that might be.
yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, because
Yeah.
it's right across from, let's go back to the dual.
it's right there with the red.
Yeah.
Mhm. So if those ditches were actually maintained, a lot of the water issues that we see, and it's eroding the road down
Yeah.
there as well.
So this section right in here, when you get heavy rain events, this traditionally flowed down and then there's a culvert that crosses. So exactly, we were thinking about, we looked at it, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago, of actually carving in a new ditch, but we can't because we can't get into this hillside at all. But I think we can get ops out there and get them
Well,
to
just
clean
digging-
out.
digging
Yeah,
the
because this fills
original
up pretty full.
Then that's my property, and it's really, it's rough. It's also, you'll notice if you drive the inside of that ditch, there are 2 huge holes. And there was an accident last week that happened because I listened to it happen. The person hit the hole, lost control, and slammed into the rock next to the power line, on the turnout.
On this
Yeah,
one?
that one right there.
Yeah, so this was,
Those holes are constantly coming into being because the road is getting eroded out when it cools up every winter.
yeah, and this is the area I was talking about
Yeah.
a minute ago, that you got this giant sea of gravel out here. And
Yes.
it actually extends down closer to the middle of the existing road. That's one of the things we're doing, is we're actually splitting it with striping and forcing people, assuming they honor the striping, into the, you gotta caveat that, it's like
And then-
speeds.
And then there's also buses use that as a turnout, and that's when they deteriorate. We get massive tank trap potholes and things going on in there because trucks and school buses, and that
Yeah.
helps with the whole erosion.
So basically, all of this gravel is gonna be removed. We're building a new driveway access for Eaton. It's similar to Lake, and we're bringing in 90 degrees to the road. So you're not trying to look over your shoulder, looking back the other direction. And then all this gravel in here is all gonna be seeded, it's gonna be grass. So that should help keep water from flowing across. I mean, whatever falls on the road, it's gonna fall on the
That
road.
also eliminates both types of mailboxes.
Yes, the mailboxes are gonna be, I don't know if you can see it from way back there, but there's this little pink dot right here. So we're moving the mailboxes, the power pole is moving up here, the mailboxes are gonna be right here. And then we're seeding all of that. And then we did a little bit of cleanup in here to get this water in this existing ditch. It's on this side.
This is proposed ditch.
Yeah, we'll see I think this is an old note. Well, yeah, it's labeled as proposed ditch. We're basically just doing nothing more than cleaning it out and realigning it. So, and then this has got a flooding problem right here that we're taking care of also. So there's an inlet out in the middle of the road right there. So that's all getting redone. And then we're putting in a new structure here that it's going to be basically a catch basin that's just an open grate. I think we're going to go with a rounded one and call them beehives so it doesn't fill up with debris. That's here, and that's going to connect into a pipe that tees into this pipe, which then flows in the ditch on this side.
And just so you know, because the one I've watched it for a long time, that's a good area that will get run over a lot with cars. So just make sure it's something that can withstand. Yeah.
Bruce, how flat is that grass area gonna be? I mean,
It's basically flat.
so,
There's going to be very little water that's actually.
but what's gonna keep buses and other people from just pulling out there and using it like it is today?
I mean, it's going to be vegetated. It's going to be like you're driving in somebody's yard. We don't have any kind of curb on that curb. We do have some curbs down on the roundabout. The one that Scott mentioned, the state job that's down on FSR 500, they have the same type of scenario where we have the travel lane and then we have a curb here, not on this one, because this one has guardrail. So we have curb on this one, but then they have openings about every 4 feet to let the water flow through. But then the trucks can drive over them because they're just like a rounded structure. So if you get a larger truck in here turning right, if he doesn't, so the gray area here is for all the trucks to drive through the roundabout. It's a truck apron. So if they come through here and turn, the trailer on a big truck might actually track over those curbs. But so you will see a little bit of curb on the outside, and it's also gives a visual cue for cars that I can't just come speeding through here and cut the corner, because there'll be a curb there. So it's going to force them to come down and then go through the roundabout.
So I know you guys are budgeted out on this and everything, but we're talking about trying to keep people off of that corner where you guys are turning into grass.
Yeah.
What about just putting those fiberglass reflectors in there to delineate this is the road and this is the grass? Stay off of there, because everybody's used to using that gravel, call it a gravel pit, to do whatever they want. When it goes grass, it's the same height as the road. It's real easy still to drive in there. Then give you a delineation between, hey, you're not supposed to be over.
Yeah, no, that's definitely something. We'll have our signing and striping guy do that. But it makes a lot of sense to give people that visual cue that, hey, you need to slow down because you're not driving over here.
Yeah.
Not intentionally.
I actually like the idea of the curbing better. You know, because it's a physical feature out there. And those guideposts will go away. Eventually they have a life to them where that curbing would be out there forever. Yeah, if
We can get the money to do it.
right. I don't know what the cost of curbing is. I know those.
They're a little bit more spendy than standard curb. I think I want to say they clocked in like $80 a foot. Yeah, they're a little more labor intensive. Trying to do the scallops on as opposed to just like a standard curb machine. Okay, so she's been waiting. Sorry.
Okay, so I have a couple questions about the, so this curve right here, you said that you'll force people, are you gonna put a rumble strip in the middle?
It's gonna, well, actually, Matt's doing the striking. I guess people under him.
So you're talking about through here?
Yeah, I mean, you were just saying like, hopefully people will, but I thought if there's a rumble strip, maybe they would better.
The DOT will use rumble strips. The county very seldom uses rumble strips. Rumble strips, you don't want to have them in urban areas. Last thing you want to do is have a rumble strip next to your house. Because Scott, Bruce lives out there, and I guarantee you he's going to come through there and just rumble at 2 o'clock in the morning. So
I didn't realize they were loud.
yes, they're obnoxious.
Okay.
The other people that don't like rumble strips, bicycles. Years ago, I put some in advance of a stop sign, and it was in there. And maybe about 3 weeks later, I had a lady come in, and she didn't see the rumble strips, and they just took her front bike and just turned it 90 degrees, and she looked like she'd been in a bar fight. But so there's people that like them, but there's a place for them, and out here probably not. So what we've got here is a widened area. They were able to widen this. So what we've got is sort of a small storage or refuge, so that if somebody is wanting to make that left turn in here, they're able to peel into this and stay out of the through traffic.
Right, not like a full turn lane, but kind of.
Yes, it's just a small little safety pocket is what it is. It's technically not large enough for us to go out and put pavement markings with the arrows and everything, but it is going to be a small safety pocket that can be used for that. So that's the idea of that. And one thing we're doing here is all the pavement markings are going to be what do they call plastic, monoline plastic, and so they last a lot longer. So, but as far as rumble strips, sorry.
Okay, then my next question was about the roundabout. I think I heard you guys say there's going to be guard railing along the ditches.
Right, just that one corner, just this one corner right here.
Okay, that was my biggest concern. And then my last question is, you'll probably address it, it's about the lake and 90 degrees. Well, just because I live on that corner, and so I'm just wondering, like, if you're gonna redo that, there's like a dead end sign right there with like the lake and road that looks like it's gonna go right over the top of that.
Oh, yes, so that'd be good.
Are there gonna be like any trees or anything taken out right there?
Should not be any trees. Well, I take it back. There might be some small trees right through here that's in the county right of way behind the old mailbox.
Okay.
So you can see, it's funny because our survey data shows a mailbox, but you go out there now, there's just nothing but the concrete
Yeah, it
base.
got moved.
There is some vegetation behind that. Smaller trees, I don't think there's any big trees until you get closer into this property.
Yeah, that's our property.
We're not impacting that property.
Well, because my kids like to hang out in this little area that's like right there on, and they call it the hideout. And there's like some vegetation right there. So I'm just wondering how that's going to impact that. Probably not terribly, but just
I'd have to probably go out and see,
Okay.
look at it
Okay.
in person to know exactly where.
Let's go back to 176th Avenue picture. If you're coming from the west going east and you got to turn onto 176th Avenue right there and you make that left-hand turn, all I got to say is you're taking your life and your trailers and everything else in your hands, because that person coming around from the south there is doing about 35, 40 miles an hour, some of them maybe even a little faster than that. And in fact, today when I come out of 176th Avenue, the guy, he had to slow down real fast because I made a right-hand turn coming out of 176th. This is still your biggest problem. You're working at the wrong end of the problem. I'm not saying they don't have a problem at Risto Road. Don't get me wrong. But this is a major problem. And I think you should have an answer how many accidents we've had here. And that's one of the questions we need to approach.
Well, I know they have the information. I'm sure that was part of John's. John is the programming representative that got us the grants. So we have to provide all that information in the grant application. I just don't know. I know Scott said he doesn't know the number. But yes, we understand. We know this is a problem. I mean, that's one of the things we're trying to rectify by making this curve smaller, a little bit tighter, adding the striped center. Basically, it's a striped center lane in here, and then necking it down to force them to go farther east. That's about all we can do at this point. We are doing the radar activated warning signs for what your speed is.
A caution light with a flashing yellow. Because in some ways, by widening that and flattening it down, it's like, ooh, I can go a little bit faster now on that curve. And if he's got a trailer with horses or hay and he's trying to get home, how does he turn safely without having,
It's called floorboarding.
Yeah.
So one thing that what Bruce is doing is they're widening this, so it's pushing this lane further out. So when you're parked here, it helps your sight distance. So this person here has a little bit further that they can see the cars coming than what's out there today. So Bruce is also improving the sight distance on that curve. Because you're right, that wouldn't be my favorite left turn lane right there. But because of this, instead of traffic here, it does move it out a little bit. So it improves the sight distance, gives this person, he can see a little bit further down the road what's coming at him.
And faster.
We will. I was just going to say, that was our first attempt, was to take out these trees. They're all on private property.
We can't.
We can't go take them, and if they're not willing to sell them.
But if it's inside county right of way, Bruce can do whatever he wants to.
Yeah.
This gentleman hit the nail on the head. We're flattening that slope versus steepening it. If you steepen it like this, that means it's going to be more like a racetrack, so you can go faster.
Yeah.
We're flattening the slope. We're making it flatter, so you're going to feel that slope a little bit more. So you should be driving it at a little less speed.
With that new church on 176, has anybody looked at how much the traffic has increased? And it seems like that area needs like a turn lane so people can make that turn. Like if they're pulling a horse trailer with horses, you're not going very fast for safety. And if somebody's still coming around that corner, I mean, you can only get out of the way. You know? It just seems like it's in your area of work, but they kind of didn't really address it, especially with the additional traffic from that church. That church is huge. So I'm sure the traffic's increased a lot.
Yeah, there's a big church that just got built right up here. And, yeah, it's big. There's a lot of traffic. And I think a lot of people are trying to go other routes because of this.
They come from the bottom.
Actually, if you go to the detour map, you'll probably see it.
Have more traffic coming down. Because I'm at that top corner, so we get to see what's going down. And they come down to 199. They're making they'll walk up because they're making the left-hand turn.
They're waiting to turn right or left. Yeah. Yeah, so we are somewhat hamstrung on what we can do within the right of way through this area. So this is our best attempt that we could. And even though we use the term widening, we're reducing the lane width from what's out there now. So you're going to have the striping. I think we've got the RPMs through each end here. And then if we decided we wanted to put the curb, the scuppers up here, that would be another physical attribute that will slow people down.
Can you talk a little bit about how sight distance might be affected coming from the opposite direction? Because just below where that picture, the edge of that picture is our entrance to our driveway.
Yeah.
So if we want to turn left into that driveway, we basically can't see the cars that are coming from 199 and the people that are coming up behind us on Risto. So that little turnout where the mailboxes are is one of the only safe ways that we can turn into our driveways, to go past, turn around, and come back. So if you're taking the gravel away and you're reducing the sight distance.
You're saying turning left here.
Yes.
Oh, you're going up and coming back and down.
Yeah, because if I stop there to turn left, I'm either getting rear-ended or I can't see the person who's coming around. And with the way the curve looks, it looks like from our direction, the sight distance actually might be worse, and you've taken the turnaround.
People drive really fast through there. One time we had an accident at 176, and I went out to flag where the gravel is right now. People come flying through there. They just, and as you move west from 176, where the end of the yellow is, where that long driveway, the next one to going south, right where your hand is. Now keep going, you go west on 199, right there. So that's where we are. So you stop, you look to the left, you look to the right, and even if there's nobody in sight, by the time you get your car into the lane headed westbound, there's some jerk on your jet, and they drive like 75 and 80, and there's absolutely no reason for it, other than that if you go out there, that people they kind of take it like it's part of a road course. They like to do that, especially the ninja bikes on a sunny day.
Put some speed cameras up.
Well, I don't know that that's the answer, but maybe additional signage about might slow it down.
Oh, we were actually on the, apparently for the street races in Portland, those curves were a huge hit because they're so big. And the only accident that wasn't alcohol related that we've had on our property was a street racer that didn't make the road.
And we do notice some impact from the church on pretty much Sundays. Because it used to be when we lived out there wasn't that much traffic, and now sometimes when you're headed for the stop sign at 167, it's just a lineup. It looks like Black Friday at Walmart.
Scott, can you switch it back to the detour map?
Which one?
I thought we had the detour map in. I wanted to kind of see. There we go. Yeah, so this is the church that everybody's talking about. So I'm obviously during construction, I'm hoping that these people will just go north and then come down this way.
They go both ways now.
Yeah.
They don't go our ways.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's the big trip generator that just recently got built. So that I think was built after we did the grants. Because the grants take, by the time they're applying for a grant, it's 2 or 3 years before we get it into design. But yeah, I mean, I've been hearing a lot about this second curve, and I've seen it myself. You can actually see where the asphalt is starting to it's getting pushed over on the speeds going west to north. So it's something I want to look at.
Sorry. I had a question about the turnout that everyone's talking about. There are at least, I would say, 10 families that don't live right there that have mailboxes there. Is that little pink section going to be enough space, if somebody pulls over to get their mail, that someone can still go around them to go up the road? Or that we could turn around to come back down south?
The mailboxes will actually be on this side of that pink. So the pink is like the parking area for the postmaster or if somebody's getting their mail. So it should be outside this yellow, which is the driveway access.
So there would be enough space for somebody to pull and get their
Yes.
mail and turn around.
Yeah, so the mailboxes will be mounted out here, but you can pull off onto this pad and then postmaster or anybody else can just grab.
But what about turning around? Because our house is like past where the photo is, south. And there's like 3 houses there, and then there's at least one even further south that have mailboxes there currently.
Yeah, I did not anticipate people coming up here and using this as a U-turn and coming back.
Yeah, because that's where our mail is delivered.
So I definitely have not modeled this for a car coming in and then trying to turn around and come back out.
Because that's a potential place for someone to try to pull in to go up or come down, and then it's like backed up where you can't go anywhere.
Okay. Well, I know that I took over this project for a different engineer that doesn't work for us anymore. And I think at one time he did try and design a roundabout at this location, but there was just too much impacts. It wasn't warranted. Too much impacts to the property. And
So is there potential for that to have a little bit larger space for people to turn around there?
well, I think I need to go back and look at that and see if I can reconfigure this to allow that, because I did not anticipate.
Yeah, because Amazon pulls over there, like that's where all of our mail goes, and there's at least 8 families, 10 families.
No, it's good. That's good to know, because I thought it was a lot of mailboxes for, there's like 3 or 4 homes back here. So,
I just wanted clarification. When you were talking about the roundabout on Fourth Plain and it goes toward Lackness Lake, you're headed east.
Yep.
Was the roundabout size the middle you were comparing, or the whole thing that size?
the whole thing. Yeah.
That's not a very big roundabout.
I think that's a 90-footer.
We're 95.
You're 95.
Yeah.
It's tight right now. I mean, it's tight. I mean, wow.
Well, that's one of the, that's one of the design concepts is you have kind of the reverse curves coming into them. They call them chicanes. Because that's one of the things when you have a more rural setting, especially if you're heading west on Risto, people are flying down here. You want to have this curvature in here. Sometimes you'll even put curvature in the roadway. We didn't have a lot of option with this one because this is a higher class wetland, and this is a steep embankment that we did not want to touch because it's stable and I don't want to undermine anything. So I'm staying away from that. That was our don't touch, and then our wetlands are down here, which was a don't touch. So we're kind of limited on what we could do. But yes, getting some of that curvature in here to force them to slow down.
But if you're big, it doesn't matter how slow you're going if you can't make the turn, if you can't do the roundabout. I mean, that's a big area right there as it sits now, right there. But that one you're talking about, that's not big. I'm telling you, it's just not. It'll be interesting. That's all I can say. And the other problem with some of the roundabouts, there's a new one in Orchards as you're headed west by anyway. The traffic is coming and you're sitting here and you want to go right a roundabout. they're coming in, so many of them, you never can get your turn to go out so that you can join the roundabout. So I'm just worried about that too, the time limit, or, the amount of cars that go around that. So I want it to work, I really do. I mean, I got hit there one time, somebody turned in front of my car. But anyway, signals would help there. Just like if anyone went 25 around the corners, there would never, ever, ever be an accident. There couldn't be an accident at 25. It just couldn't. So.
Yeah. The one I'm not sure which roundabout you were talking about that you're having difficulties turning, but that's one of the selection process criteria you'd look at. So when you determine if it is supposed to be a roundabout or if it works in the situation, that's one thing you avoid. So if everybody is going east-west and there's basically no traffic going north, you get this unbalanced flow of traffic. And so roundabouts don't always fit perfect everywhere.
Yeah.
Because that's one aspect they have to look at.
Oh, I'll just come home a different way. No, and the other thing was I kind of heard two things. I heard that 176 would be closed, but it won't be closed at the same time you're working at the roundabout, right?
No, it will be. So
it will be.
We had the two red boxes on there.
So they're all gonna be closed at once.
Yeah.
So we're working on every part of it at once.
Yes, because historically it's been better for us to have a lot of impact for a shorter time period than to have something just ongoing for a really long time. And it's really difficult, especially to build roundabouts without a lane closure.
I was just hoping for once in my life I could come to the stop sign and make a right-hand turn. And no, I'm not gonna get hit.
But we are planning on doing both of these during that.
Okay.
How long will that closure be, do you think?
I think we haven't finalized it yet, but we're talking probably 2 months. We know we don't want to start the closure before school's out because we don't want to deal with the buses and the detour routes. And we want to be done and open before school starts again. So it gives them about a 2-month window. There'll be other work they can do in the area, but for the main closure, we're thinking 2 months. And that's what the contractor that's doing the roundabout right now that's under construction, 119th and 152nd, that they had a 2-month closure window. And it looks like it's going good there. So we're not anticipating any
So it's my
issues.
understanding too that you guys will, the neighbors in this area will get some kind of communication in our home, or will you put it in the reflectory, or what?
Absolutely. There's a process for road closures. It will go in the newspaper. It will be on our project website. We'll send out mailers. There'll be a lot of outreach.
We have quite a few hours in for reader boards too.
Yeah.
So they should have reader boards on probably the 3 legs with the big lighted message sign saying, hey, the closure is going to start. If they had one just out here for the overlay.
A lot of good discussion here. I got to give it a 5-minute warning for the open mic. But we're going to be here for a while to answer questions at the boards here. But we got about 5 more minutes on the microphone.
Just go ahead.
I was
We
just
got online questions.
I was just wondering, I saw at the beginning you guys were at like the 90% complete plan, then the 99. Are there plans to take the feedback from this meeting and amend with like the turnaround for the mailbox, or is it kind of like we're done, we're just informing you guys?
No,
or?
we will absolutely take into consideration. And I mentioned it earlier that, I live out here now, so the curve, I agree. I think we should be looking at that second curve. See what we can do in here.
Now, can I just add a caveat to that?
Yeah.
Widening a little bit for a mailbox is doable.
Different than
Moving a roundabout from here to here. Just pick it up and drop it over, right? So, yes, we're open to.
And that's kind of what I was gonna reference was, I don't think this is gonna be an issue. We gotta look into this because it's an overlay right now. So we are really hamstrung on what we can do permitting wise based on the square footage of impact. So right now, this is just an overlay. So we have a stormwater ordinance that we have to follow. And if I add too much stuff to it, it triggers us to do other things environmental permit wise. And so one of them is this BA, it's a biological assessment. That can take 2 years to get that permit. So right now, we don't need the permit because we haven't added that much new hard surface, which is, it's all about the water getting into Salmon Creek and keeping it clean. So yes, I will definitely take into account everybody's comment. And like I said, this is great news about this because I didn't realize people were going up there from down there and trying to do U-turns.
So, you know, the comment about the second curve, there's going to be like a friction surface on the part that you're describing,
Yeah.
and then, you know, with kind of like that contrast of friction on a similarly banked S curve, is there any data that shows that leads to an increase in accidents or anything? Like, you know, going from something where your friction is heavy to another S curve end where it's not as high coefficient of friction.
That's where this is going to get tricky because we wouldn't put that high friction surface treatment on that curve as is because that one is quite a bit more banked. So I wouldn't want to do that unless we did the same thing we were doing up here, which was trying to flatten that. And I think if we tried to do that, that's going to trigger the stormwater ordinance. So that's something we need to look at.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking is just, you know, come from other parts of the country where I remember there was something where they put like an S curve in like that, with the second half of it having a different surface. And there was a whole bunch of accidents. People feeling it, I don't know what it is, but, you know, going one direction or the other, you feel more glued to the road, and then you hit the gas more, and if you're not as glued to the road, it's just, right? So that contrast could be, I don't know if there's data you guys have, where it's high surface friction, low surface friction, contrasting, leading to an accident.
I don't know if you have any, this is the first project I've had that we used it, and it was part of our grant application. So I don't know if you have any history on that.
No, I know we tried it years ago with the DOT, when I was with the county. I was with the county 13 years and never used it. Bruce has been there close to 30 years, and it's never been used before. So
why would we experiment on something that we don't even have the same banking? You got two corners here. You're changing the banking so they're not the same degree of banking. You're making one flat. I ride a bike. That's dangerous. A bike is going to go around that corner, and you call them ninja bikes. I don't ride a ninja bike. But, you know, you get these idiots riding these bikes, it's going to go around that first corner, and just like you said, they're glued to the road. And that next corner, they're going to end up in that lady's front yard dead. You guys got to change the banking so they're the same, and that road surface has got to be the same. Doesn't matter if we're talking cars or bikes. It's whoever started this and didn't want the second bank in there dealt with is stupid, in my opinion. Sorry for saying the word, but they got to be the same, or you guys are asking for more accidents.
I agree.
Yeah, I can't answer the question if there's going to be more with the whole friction treatment.
The whole project needs to be put on hold until those banks are the same. As far as road surface, if you're putting that friction on it, angle of banking.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I wouldn't put that on this one, not with the bank that's out there now. And that's where I think we're at the point I don't think I can lower that one because I think that would trigger the stormwater
Then
ordinance.
put this off for 2 or 3 years until you can do the whole project and do it correctly the first time, instead of doing a half job today and getting a lot more accidents in that other curve, and then coming back and spending a bunch more money that you can't get grants for because we just granted it 4 years ago. You put the whole thing on hold until the whole thing can be done properly. And if that's 2 years down the road, it's 2 years down the road. That's my opinion.
Thank you.
Okay, last question here, but we're gonna stick around and we'll answer questions individually.
So we talked briefly, looking at the posters beforehand about this. I live up Lakin Road, and currently when you're coming from Hawkinson and you're kind of taking, turning right and then going left up Lakin, you have your eye on the rear view mirror, wondering if the person behind you is going to plow into you every time. And I've gotten people laying their horns, like thinking you're doing something I don't know, that you shouldn't be. It's because they're not expecting it, which I'm not against this roundabout, but picturing the very small one and the reduction of speeds there, my concern is that we're going to get more backups because we already do. And people are moving through that area much quicker than they will be at 18 miles an hour. That concerns me that people are backing up because Lakeland can have a fair amount of traffic. I mean, there's 10 or 12 houses up there, and at certain times of the day, you can get a fair amount of people going in there. So yeah, thoughts on that, the backup.
And is the bottom of it gonna be wide enough for like two cars to pass each other?
That's what somebody else had brought up earlier about, I think it is down here. Obviously, it nicks back down and matches the existing roadway up here. I'd have to measure this, because I know that this width right now is based on all the turning movement. So when we do intersections and curves and corners, we use the software. You can input what vehicle you're driving, and then it gives you you can actually drive the vehicle making this left turn, and then also the right turn coming out.
And utility vehicles will be able to make that turn?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
big trucks?
I think we've modeled this one with truck and trailer, like the horse trailers, and then like the SU, which is like a moving van, like the U-Haul vans or U-Haul vans, motorhomes. Because the single motorhome is one of the worst ones in here, because the trailers actually track better than the solid motorhomes. I don't remember. I know it's not 12. It's wider than that. Yeah, we're not back down to 12 till here. So I want to say we're maybe 17 in that area. He was asking what the width of the road was there, and we couldn't hear.
Yeah.
So we are wider here than kind of the standard 12-foot line.
Is there gonna be a place for us to like pull off a little bit like the other curve has, so that we can like turn left, so that we can back up the roundabout and sit there and wait for all the people coming west?
You're just talking about here?
Yeah.
No, we didn't have the width to do that. And then, I mean, you talked about it a little bit, about the modeling of whether or not a left turn bank or a left turn lane was warranted. I guess technically that was from us. Yeah. So we had the consultants do both. I'll let you.
When we talk about roundabouts, there's Kittleson is one of the most renowned roundabout designers in the nation, and the county uses them quite a bit. And we asked them to take a look at that with the volumes that were out there, because we were wondering, do we need to put something different out there? And when they came back to us, they recommended that it wasn't needed because the volumes here were fairly light and the volumes this way were light, and they weren't too concerned about this backing back up into the.
Okay, that's because they don't live there, but okay.
Yeah. And they've got these high-tech models that you see that looks like little cars going around there, and they plug in their numbers and it builds a little electronic model that you see little cars go through. And if we wanted to, we could probably brought a copy of it and shown you, but we didn't.
Here's hoping it works.
Yeah, we would have had to set up a computer and a screen over here, just continuously running that. But
well, what's your expectation of, to the point, those people coming on Risto that would be turning left onto 182nd? Now it's currently a stop sign, and that's what leads to a little bit of a backup. But with the roundabout, is the expectation that there could be backup to where that left onto Lincoln wouldn't be possible? Or with the roundabout, is the expectation that it's going to continually move, keep it clear so that she could make her left turn?
It would be continuously moved. Yes, that's
so that should improve it, theoretically.
Yeah. Because if you're running into a stop situation where you're getting a queue of cars and you're unable to make that left turn, that won't happen with the roundabout. It will flow.
Scott will come out here and watch it.
I hope it does.
All right, well, thanks
Do
for,
you have online questions?
no,
Nope, okay.
they just typed questions and left, I think, so we'll have to answer them.
Okay.
That is the presentation tonight. Feel free to stick around. We will be here till at least 8. If you have individual questions, we can go over that. There's cookies left. If you guys don't eat them, I will. And